So I also would like to welcome you all. It's a joy to be with you and to have a chance to explore this topic together. I was reading another book, and it's not on anything spiritual, but in the very beginning it had this interesting little interchange, and it said, so, 2 young fish are swimming along, and they see coming at them a big older fish, and they approach each other, and the big older fish, as they approach, says, "Hi boys, how's the water?" And he doesn't stop, he just keeps going, and the young fish keep going. And after a while, one of the young fish says to the other one, "What the heck is water?" Anyway, it's interesting because I thought that's exactly where we're at. We're, all of us and all of you online and everyone exploring meditation, actually doing meditation, we're in motion with all of this. But we do live in water. We do live in an ocean of divine energy and consciousness. And what our whole task is, self-realization, is to improve our knowing about that, to improve the reality of that in every day living and in every part of our lives. So I'd like to actually begin with a prayer from Whispers from Eternity. Prayer demand for illumination. O Spirit, beloved Father, Oversoul of the universe, Spirit of spirits, Friend of friends, teach me the mystery of my existence. Teach me to worship Thee in breathlessness and in deathlessness. In the fire of devotion, burn away my ignorance. In the stillness of my soul, come, Spirit, come. Possess me and teach me to feel Thy immortal presence in and around me. Come, Spirit, come. Come, Spirit, come. So, this topic, I don't know, I wasn't quite sure exactly how to go about it, but it made me think of Master, of Paramahansa Yogananda, and of when he first came as a young man. He was 27 years old at the time and knew nobody in America. He was invited here to come and speak, and he learned English he knew English, but he hadn't used it before. I think there was some confusion about he didn't know any English. No, he knew English, but he spoke in Bengali naturally. Anyway, on the way over, he learned English, but landed in Boston. And I just thought, and he landed fully himself spiritually. So he knew everything. The big task before him was how to present that truth. Is truth hidden? How to present that truth to America. And America at that time, so it's the Roaring 20s. Everybody's really glad they survived World War I and the flu epidemic, which killed millions of people, and they're having a good time. And so Master spends the first 3 years in Boston with Dr. Lewis and his wife, and just getting to know America. And he lives at the YMCA. We saw the building there in Boston. It still looks exactly the same, big, all of that. But he's getting to know the consciousness of Americans. And I read something, I can't remember where it was, but a man who was an ambassador or a diplomat in Europe asked the Europeans what was the one word you would use to describe America. He was from America, and he was asking them. And they said, energy. Not refinement, not culture, energy. And so what did Master start out with? Energy. How feels everyone? Awake and ready. How is everyone? Awake and ready. And I thought, you know, he had to start where people are at. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit because it's what we have to do. Everyone here and online as well, we're channels for light. You know, we have a category of ministry, light bearers. Well, we're all bearing the light. And so we need to really understand how to do that. And it's very interesting. I was reading through a lot of the Paramhansa Yogananda, a biography that Swami Kriyananda wrote, because he talks about Master's early years and just how he went about things and, you know, who he met and what he did. But I thought, but it's very helpful to know that he was appropriate in every single situation. He didn't just come and say, this is what I'm doing and this is what applies to every situation I go into. No, he would talk to people as, or be with people as it was appropriate for them. And there's one, this is kind of, I wasn't sure exactly how to talk about this, but it's one that always has struck me. And I was interested in, so how did he do that? And this took place a little bit later when he had been in America for a while. It actually took place, I think, at late 1930s, early 1940s. And he's living in Encinitas, the big, and just imagine, Encinitas, I was thinking about this morning. Encinitas was a small seaside town 100 miles south of Los Angeles. And so just, you know, and all of a sudden this white big building and temple appear on the bluff there. And that's where Master was living. So he's the Swami. People probably know something about him, but not too much. But the word that he was there got around naturally. And so at a certain point, there's a man, and this is a story that's been told before, but it's always struck me. And there's a man who, I think he was a real estate agent in Encinitas, and his wife becomes quite ill. And he's very concerned about her. So he knows about Yogananda, and he goes to him and he says, can you come and help my wife? And Master, feeling inwardly what to do, he said, I can't come right now, but I'll pray for her. And so he does that. And this happens pretty rapidly. The wife is getting worse and worse, and she dies. And then word gets to Yogananda right away that this woman has died. And you know, you'd think, oh gosh, I should have gone. No, wasn't the right time. And so then Master felt, he said, oh yes, now I can go. And so he goes, and the house is filled with grieving people. And the husband is very distraught. And he asks them all to leave the bedroom where the wife is, the body. And then he goes to her, and he said, and it's all written in, I think it's in the biography. Anyway, he places his hand on her heart and on the spiritual eye and prays. And I think at one point Swami talked about it, and he said he could feel her very far away, but coming back. And he brought her back to life. She was dead. She was absolutely dead, gone. And he brought her back to life. And then everybody was happy again, you know, bad, good. And but what I was struck by was, you'd think local Swami brings woman back to life would appear in the local newspaper. There was nothing. Nothing happened. And I'm saying this because it's like, this is a real thing that happened. Does God hide the truth from us? No, here's truth. She was dead, now she's alive, and I have a feeling the husband, hard to know. I didn't read more about, I don't know that I know more about what happened with him, but he may have understood what happened, but I think everybody else there probably said, oh, she didn't die. yeah, that's great. You know, he brought her back. You know, she didn't die. And so these things are happening all around us all the time. Miracles are happening. Energy of God is happening. And we need to be aware. And so that's really the path of self-realization. We're trying to raise our consciousness. And as you raise your consciousness, then you begin to see things. You can see them. And you know, right now, we all are on a path that's very elevated. It's a path of liberation. But for many people, as Master said, they're asleep in delusion. And so a lot is happening that doesn't register with them because of that. And so, but for us, it's important that we realize that's why we really have to commit to meditating regularly every day. Because twice a day, then you're working on lightening up your own karma and also being able to lift your consciousness so that you're very aware of what's going on around you on different levels of awareness, different levels of consciousness. You know, these kinds of things also happened here at Ananda Village. They continue to happen, but I'm thinking back, you know, in the early days of Ananda, there were a number of miracles that happened, and you think, wow, did that really happen? But it was very interesting because we were, in the first few years I was here, 72 to about 75 or 76, 3 or 4 years, we had no electricity for the most part, and we had one telephone. Well, 2 telephones, one at the building, one at the market. But it was very quiet here. It was easy to be inward. It was easy to meditate in a certain way. I mean, everybody has their challenges, but there were a number of things that happened where you could have said the same thing that happened with that woman that was brought back from the dead. Oh, she just broke her neck and she's fine. Oh, well, that's great. No. That was a miracle. That was a miracle that happened. And I think a number of people understood that, but why I'm saying that is because these are things that happen all the time. I was also, I mean, there were a number of miracles. There was that. I mean, we couldn't have dealt with people breaking their neck or falling off a cliff or whatever. We couldn't have dealt with that. We were just dealing with mud and buildings and trying to stay warm and, you know, and meditate and all of that. But, you know, another one was, you know, someone drove off the cliff on the way to town. You all drive to town. Well, you know where you're going down that road like that and you have to go like that? Well, he didn't make it. The brakes were done on the truck, and he was towing a huge trailer. And he just said, "Om." I mean, he couldn't do anything about it. And he went over the edge, and the big trailer caught on a tree. This is my understanding of that situation. I wasn't there. But it caught on a tree, and nobody died. They didn't go on down to the river 1,000 feet below. It happened. And you think, oh, well, you know, but no. It was a time, Master, my interpretation, and I think it's true, Master really wanted this community to happen. And we were all doing our best to make it happen. And so there was an aura of protection around us, because we were doing a lot of physical things. And you know, you can make mistakes all the time, but there was an aura of protection there. And so that is one thing I just wanted to mention, because it's ongoing. This temple, in my mind, is a miracle. You know, I mean, really, it was just very interesting to step through all the different things that happened, and all the money that needed to be raised, and it came in, and then it didn't, and then it was coming, and then all of the different physical things. I mean, a building like this is very complex, and to get it all really together and approved on every single level by the county, that happened 2 days before we were ready to dedicate the temple. And the builders themselves were amazed, because it's like no first inspection to a building like this ever passes completely. You know, it's always, well, it's okay, but we'll have to do that. Nope, it was all done. And when we walked in, we had, this was 2019, and we had 700 to 900 people here for a week to dedicate the temple and celebrate the 50th anniversary of Ananda, 1969. And when I walked in, I thought, oh, this is Babaji's temple. It just felt so astral. And I thought, like Babaji, did that for Lahiri in the Himalayas, I think he gave us this temple. Anyway, it was very sweet, because all of it, the rug, the chairs, everything was arriving right in the last minute. Boom, boom, boom. And then it was done. We opened the doors that evening, Sunday night. Everybody came in and sat down. Anyway, do appreciate this temple. It's got, in my mind, it's Babaji. It's got Babaji's vibration. Anyway, very sweet. And then the other thing that I was interested in does God hide the truth? The answer, no, God doesn't hide the truth. We hide from the truth, because we're not lifting our consciousness up to be aware of truth all around us. But the other thing the other story that struck me, again in the Paramahansa Yogananda, a biography book, is where, and this is a story that we all know, many of us, where Yogananda's in Boston. He receives a letter. He's been promoting, Jesus Christ and the teachings of yoga and all of that. And he receives this letter, and the man says, don't you know that Jesus never even existed? All of that's a lie. What you're promoting is not true. And so Yogananda, being self-realized, looked at that letter and said, I want to know who wrote this. And so he meditated on it and got direction. And so he went to the Boston Public Library, which a number of you probably have been to. Anyway, he saw a man sitting under the window on a bench, and he went up to him and he said, why did you write me that letter? And the man was astounded. He said, how do you know it was me? Anyway, they had a little back and forth. But then the man, and again, I just thought, I don't know what happened to this man. I was curious afterwards, because he said, well, and he said, and Yogananda said, well, the power by which I found you is the power by which I know that Jesus did exist and was a master, great master. And he said, yeah, okay, and he asked him 3 different questions, which were very good, and Master answered them. The first one, how can Jesus be the only Son of God? It's like, yeah, and a lot of people must wonder that, even if they're Christian, how can Jesus be the only Son of God? And Master said to him, it was, again, appropriate giving of the truth, of light. He said, that's a common misunderstanding. Yeah, it was very sweet. And then he said, he wasn't the only, in his human form, the only Son of God. It was the Christ consciousness within him that he was identified with, which is the only Son of God, but expressed through different masters who have achieved that Christ consciousness level. So that was the first question. I thought, well, good for him. I mean, what good question. Second one was, the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, are those 3 different entities that I'm supposed to relate to? And Yogananda said, no, they're 3 basic aspects of the one omnipresent God. And so, again, he's sharing the truth with this man in the way that will help him To somebody else, he may not have said that, but he was asking very good questions directly. And the last one, he said, so, Jesus' crucifixion, he took on the sins of the whole world. And you know what Yogananda said to him? He said, use your common sense. And really, it's like, these dogmas, they've had 2,000 years to grow, in just retelling, and it's like, what? Really? And then he said, no, he said what happened is that, what we know happened is that the disciples of Jesus grew greatly during that lifetime. And that crucifixion, by that crucifixion, he wiped out a lot of their karma so that they could grow more and take on his mission. And so, again, very interesting and very just specific answers to good questions, but in a way that that man could relate to. And I think for all of us, we just need to keep that in mind when we're relating to people about light and the truth and all of that, just to relate in the way you look at somebody and you think, because someone will say, well, how would you answer this question? Someone said this to Swami, and he said, it would depend on the time and the person, And so you're looking at someone and you want to think, well, what can they accept of the light? Because as you can see, someone is raised from the dead and everybody just writes it off. Didn't happen. Nobody was coming to Yogananda and wanting to learn to meditate after that, and nothing. And so it doesn't go anywhere, in other words. But if we can act as channels for light and can relate to people where they're at, sometimes it's just a smile, I think of that when I go to the grocery store. I just think, just smile at these people. They're working really hard, and who smiles at them? Hardly anybody. People don't. And so, but just be appropriate, but don't be afraid to share the light. I think we're in a time of great need, and it's very important that we understand how to take this on. We've been given an incredible gift of light, and so how to take that on and pass that on to other people. And I just wanted to read, this is from an article of Masters, Yogananda's, God is your greatest security. And it's just a little bit of the ending of a talk. And he says, about meditation, he says, don't wait, for you have a long way to go. I do not speak to you through emotion, but through the vibration of my own experience. And he says, God can be contacted at any moment, any day. It is possible to feel the inspiration of his presence anytime, in any place, so that whenever you think of him, his inspiration will be here. It made me remember, to those who think me near, I will be near. Master said that. To those who think me near, I will be near. So it is possible to feel the inspiration of his presence anytime, and if you feel it, he will be there. In every lovely experience, you will behold God. Just beneath the shadows of this life is his wondrous light. The universe is a vast temple of his presence. When you meditate, you will find doors opening to him everywhere. When you have communion with him, not all the ravages of the world can take away that joy and peace. Om.
Come gather round, let joy sing out today. Dawn now is breaking, and the mountains say, it's only light can make the darkness run. Lift up your head, greet the rising sun. Greet the rising sun. Some people think to harvest happiness by weeding troubles, easing every stress. The trouble is that troubles never end. Get rid of one and you face its friend. And you face its friend. It's in your heart the songs of joy resound. You'll hear but echoes in the world around. Wind on a hill sounds lonely if you're sad, free if you're free, cheerful if you're glad. Cheerful if you're glad. Friends, come with me. We'll chant of battles won, shots not of anger. Joy will be our gun. Before the light, the veils of sorrow rend. In inner freedom, all delusions end. All delusions end. What is love? Is it only ours? Or does love whisper in the flowers? Surely we, children of this world, could not love by our own powers. What is joy? Is it just a dream? Or does joy laugh in every stream? Are the clouds mindless after all? Or is joy all nature's theme? God is dead, so men say. Can't they see all life's display? Not a church binds him as its own. Not a creed makes him fully known. Foolish we, if we limit him. Every atom is his throne. What is love? Is it only ours? Or does love whisper in the flowers? Surely we, children of this world, could not love by our own powers. What is love? What is love? Is it love we touch in the flowers?
Thank you to all of our donors for making it possible to share these videos and keep this channel ad-free. If you feel inspired to donate, visit ananda.org/give.